The world of business is often cold and relentless, where CEOs and powerful men are defined by their deals, their decisions, and the fortunes they control. But behind every sharp suit and polished reputation, there often lies a human being with hidden scars, loneliness, and stories that the world never gets to see. This story is about Daniel, a successful single-dad CEO whose life was transformed not by a boardroom decision or a $1 million contract, but by the innocent words of his little daughter. What began as a business arrangement, a temporary solution to maintain appearances at a glamorous party, turned into something that none of them could have ever predicted. Daniel was a man who had it all, or at least that's what the world thought. He was the head of a multi-million-dollar company, admired in financial circles, and respected by his peers. Yet his personal life was another story entirely. His wife had passed away several years ago, leaving him to raise his daughter, Emily, all by himself. Emily was the light of his life, his reason to push through the long days and lonely nights, but no matter how much he tried, there was always a gap that love and laughter could not fill. He wanted to be both mother and father, but at the end of the day, he was just a man doing his best. Emily was bright, sweet, and curious, but Daniel could see she longed for something more, for warmth, for presence, for companionship that only a complete family could give. One evening, as Daniel prepared for an upcoming charity gala where his presence was mandatory, he realized the weight of appearances. These events were not just social gatherings, they were business opportunities wrapped in glitter and champagne. Every CEO arrived with a glamorous partner, arm in arm, presenting the image of balance and stability. Daniel, always arriving alone, was beginning to attract whispers. Investors saw him as brilliant but lonely, hard-working but perhaps too isolated. A close business friend even suggested, half-jokingly, that he should hire a date, just to make things easier. At first, Daniel laughed off the idea, but as the event drew near, he felt the pressure building. He didn't want Emily to feel embarrassed, nor did he want to appear incomplete in a world where appearances meant everything. After much hesitation, he made a decision he never thought he would. He arranged for someone to accompany him, a professional date, someone graceful and elegant, who could blend into the world of high society without raising suspicion. Her name was Clara. She wasn't just beautiful, she was poised, kind, and carried herself with an authenticity that instantly set her apart from the polished but shallow faces Daniel often saw at these parties. To Daniel, she was simply supposed to be a one-night solution, a hired girlfriend to stand by his side at the gala. But life has a way of changing plans in the most unexpected ways. The night of the gala arrived, and Clara walked into Daniel's life like a breath of fresh air. In her presence, conversations felt effortless, laughter came naturally, and for the first time in years, Daniel felt less like a CEO and more like a man rediscovering the joy of companionship. Guests complimented them as a couple, impressed by Clara's warmth and intelligence. Daniel couldn't help but notice how different this felt compared to his usual lonely evenings. Yet he reminded himself that it was all temporary, just a business arrangement. Or so he thought. When they returned from the gala, Emily, who had been waiting excitedly at home, rushed to greet her father. But her eyes quickly turned to Clara, curious about the elegant stranger standing beside him. Clara, with her natural gentleness, knelt down to Emily's level and introduced herself. Instead of the awkwardness Daniel had feared, something magical happened. Emily instantly connected with her, as if she had known Clara forever. Within minutes, the little girl was holding Clara's hand, showing her drawings, and asking her questions with the innocence only a child could carry. Daniel watched in quiet amazement as his daughter, who was often shy with strangers, opened up completely to this woman she had just met. Over the next few days, Daniel thought he would never see Clara again. But Emily had other plans. She kept asking about her, wondering when she would come back, and insisting that she wanted to spend more time with her. Daniel tried to explain that Clara was just a friend, but Emily's heart had already spoken. One evening, as Daniel tucked her into bed, Emily whispered something that shook him deeply. "Daddy, can she stay forever?" Those words lingered in his mind like an echo he couldn't ignore. For Daniel, they were more than just a child's wish, they were a reflection of what they both longed for deep inside: a family, love, and the comfort of having someone who filled the empty spaces in their lives. Daniel began to see Clara differently. What started as a business arrangement was now becoming something genuine. He invited her over more often, not as a hired companion, but as a friend. Clara, to his surprise, seemed to enjoy being around Emily as much as Emily enjoyed being with her. They cooked together, played board games, and shared laughter that Daniel hadn't heard in his home for years. Slowly, his house, once silent and orderly, began to fill with warmth and joy again. But Daniel was torn. Could he allow himself to fall for someone who entered his life in such an unconventional way? Could Clara truly be the answer to his daughter's unspoken prayers? He feared making a mistake, of opening up only to risk more heartbreak. Yet every time he saw Emily's face light up when Clara entered the room, he knew deep down that this was no accident. One evening, Daniel and Clara sat together on the porch after Emily had gone to bed. The night was quiet, the stars twinkling above, and Daniel found himself sharing pieces of his heart he had kept locked away. He told Clara about his late wife, about the struggles of raising Emily alone, about the weight of loneliness he carried despite his success. Clara listened, not with judgment or pity, but with understanding. And in that moment, Daniel realized something profound. Clara wasn't just filling a role, she was becoming part of their story. The journey wasn't easy. Doubts lingered, society's whispers grew louder, and Daniel had to decide whether to follow his heart or remain guarded. But Emily's words kept returning to him like a guiding light. Can she stay forever? That innocent plea became the turning point. For Daniel, it wasn't about appearances anymore. It was about love, about family, about giving his daughter the happiness she deserved. Slowly, what began as an arrangement blossomed into love. Daniel and Clara grew closer, building trust and understanding, and Emily flourished in the warmth of their bond. Together, they created a home filled with laughter, love, and hope. And Daniel, once the lonely CEO who thought he had everything, discovered that true wealth wasn't measured in contracts or fortunes, it was found in the hearts of those who loved him unconditionally. This story reminds us that life often gives us what we least expect at the moment we need it most. Sometimes love doesn't arrive in the way we imagined. Sometimes it begins as something temporary, even transactional, but transforms into something permanent and beautiful. At its core, this is not just Daniel's story, but a universal truth about family, healing, and the power of love to mend broken hearts. In the end, it was not Daniel's wealth or status that brought happiness to his daughter, but his courage to open his heart again. Clara was never just a hired date. She became the missing piece of their family, the answer to Emily's innocent prayer, and the proof that love, in its purest form, always finds a way.